And no, I don't know about your young friend, but the thing about suicide, I think, is that so often there are no signs whatsoever. And this is really the point I made in my song, Annalise, that she was a lovely friend. She always seemed happy. That was the thing that stuck with me. And I think I say in the lyrics that I saw no stress in her eyes, no worries. She was laughing. She was a lovely person, beyond her years, actually. She was a very wise young lady. And when this happened, I can't describe the shock of something like that. I mean, we hear about suicides, don't we? And it seems to be one of those things that we all tend to think happens to other people, other families, but of course it can strike closer to home. And it's so often when people talk about it, the families, the friends, they say the same thing, that there were no signs at all that this was going to happen. Would you say, Joseph, that this young girl of 12 years, were there any signs there? Did she have a known condition that may have led to the suicide?
She certainly was struggling with being picked on at school. And I think an interesting parallel that you just said was with Annalise being wise beyond her years. Delilah had the same thing. She felt like an
Mm,
18-year-old and she was only 12. It was
mm,
crazy. She was just wise beyond her years.
yeah. And it always seems to be, I think the phrase is something like it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And that's the tragedy of suicide, isn't it? That
Yeah.
somebody gets to this stage of disintegration where they think the only way out is to end something that is the only chance we have to live this incredible life on this incredible planet. So something must go badly wrong to drive somebody into that dreadful frame of mind. And we can only imagine what people go through. The fact that they don't seem to seek help, they don't say to someone, "Look, I'm in a very bad place," and so on. But yeah, and we're not getting necessarily into the suicide of things, but that's such a sad
Right.
thing to hear from you, that a
Yeah.
young 12-year-old girl felt that was her only way out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Wierd Heart, the song, isn't necessarily a sad song or a funeral song or anything like that. It was just a song that she and I started that was
Mm,
expressing feelings, and it was incumbent on me to finish that. And so it's
yeah,
really more of a now it's become a celebration of just who she was, even though you might want to say, well, isn't it a very sad song because of the backstory? And I think the
yeah,
backstory is just simply that's the introduction to where this world, where she was in the world, but her feelings are still true.
and I'm
Wow.
sure what you did there by finishing the song and putting it way out there, as you say, forevermore, really, is a great thing for her family to as a consolation, maybe for their incredible loss.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it'll certainly outlive me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's really a way of leaving a legacy behind too.
Music is like that, isn't it? It becomes a bit immortal in a way beyond ourselves. It can be out there forevermore. So that's
Yeah.
quite a positive thought, isn't it, in this
Mhm.
situation, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's talk about your School of Music. How did you get that started?
Yeah, so I was a singer-songwriter for years doing bands is as hard as I could, and I would travel out to New York and do singer-songwriter showcases. But at some point in time, you start to age out of that and you're like, well, what am I going to do for a living here? And I had always been teaching lessons while, doing chasing the singer-songwriter career. And so once I made a decision to just expand that and kind of after doing it for so long, you kind of learn how to do it. And so one of my secret weapons was I, when I was a little kid, I'd race home after school and drop the needle down and figure out like how did the Beatles and the Stones, what's everything they did to make these songs what's everything they did to make these songs work. There's drums and there's bass and there's guitars and there's vocals and there's all sorts of stuff going on and how did it work? And so I was starting to write songs at a very, very young age and sucking at it. But you really learn through doing it. And so I would then say, hey, how can I take all those skills and teach kids not really how to start a band, but how to start a band, if that makes sense, and get rocking and write bad songs at first until your craft gets better. And so, like I had said earlier, it's a little bit weird when you maybe come in for drum lessons and all of a sudden the teacher's hanging out behind the guitar. You're like, aren't you supposed to be teaching me how to play the drums? I'm like, I am. Because you have to learn to make some decisions that's going to fit this groove. And we'll know if it doesn't work, and we'll hear it. And so it's a little bit like, I think it's a little bit like the American sport baseball. A baseball player can make the Hall of Fame if they bat 300, which means 3 out of 10 times they get on base. But what that means is 7 out of 10 times they fail. And so in our songwriting world, if we were to fail 7 out of 10 times but still get 3 great songs out of it, that'd be huge. We'd be over the top. And so I just take that mentality into these lessons and say, let's do a jam session and let's write a whole bunch of bad songs. And kids are like, wait, what? Like, yeah, let's write bad songs on purpose, because out of that, we're going to learn how to write good songs.
It's like that saying, out of failure comes success. It holds true.
That's right.
Yeah, it does hold true, doesn't it? Yeah. So what about yourself when did you get into music?
Very young. I was probably 5th or 6th grade here. Really young kid. I was walking through the house one day and I saw what I found out was a guitar, because I said, hey, what's that? And my mom said, well, that's a guitar. Let me show you a couple of chords. And I wasn't much big enough to just get my arm around the darn thing. And my life's never been the same since. I've just been chasing it the whole time, because I instantly recognized, whoa, that's what those bands are doing. This is so cool. And so I would just drop the needle down and just try to figure it out. And never really had the ability to, like, I'm going to, first of all, there is no great notation for how did the Beatles do it. It's better to listen to it and figure it out, because there's all sorts of quirky, weird things that you just can't document on the page. So the idea of reading music, especially when we think about Paul McCartney, I mean, he doesn't read music, he writes music, And so the idea of that, so everything that I did was just drop the needle down and like just listen and try to hit a note and like, nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. And be wrong more times than right. But eventually you find it. And you're like, whoa, I figured out what they did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Trevor, I call him bro. He's got his own kind of production, But what